Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Says the Gemara, so we had a phenomenal halach in the Mishnah that if a kosher animal nurses from a kosher animal who's treif, or the opposite. In other words, we go by the milk that goes into the animal, not by the animal that nursed. So the milk that went into the animal is treif milk, so it remains treif, the rennet is treif. If a treif animal, in other words, you have a cow, which has a hole in its heart, so it's treif, but it nursed from a kosher animal. The mother animal it nursed from is kosher, then the milk remains kosher, the rennet is kosher. Ask the Gemara, how could that be? If the animal is an avela, hareza asura. So what's the difference if the rennet is an avela or the rennet is treifa? The animal is treif or the animal is an avela, shouldn't it be the same halacha? They should both be asur. Why is it if the animal is treif, but the milk it drank is kosher, remains kosher? But if the animal is an avela, and it drank kosher milk, it stays in the veil. So it should stay treif also. Omer Rav Chizda, you're right, the whole thing is the Rabbanan here. Reisha nira ka'oichel nevelas. It's exactly the Rabbanan. It looks like you're eating nevela. You're not eating nevela. Hacha. But when you shecht a treifa animal, okay, so it has a hole in the heart. But it looks good. It looks kosher. Hacha ikesh shchita. So mela the rennet remains kosher. But we have a kavachomer. Like a simple, in other words, it doesn't make sense logically what you're saying. Without the Torah, without anything, nevela is something that people stay away from. Even idol worshippers will not eat nevela. You know, an animal that drops dead in the barn, they don't go ahead and they cut it up and make steak out of it. It's a gross thing. These shars like kivasa, and if you allow using the milk from the rennet, people are not going to say, oh, you're allowed to make milk from it, I'm going to eat it in the veil, because it's disgusting anyways. Nevertheless, you say, I got to make a gzeira here, and you shouldn't be drinking this milk. Treifa, you might come to eat it, because at the end of the day, you shechted it, everything just has a little problem with the lungs, a little sircha, whatever. Like Kolchkin, so certainly you should make it asur. Why is there no gzeira d'Rabbanan on the rennet of a treifa? Kan kodim Chazarah, kan la'achar Chazarah. Like we mentioned yesterday, the Reb Shua took it back. That what? In the beginning, Reb Shua used to hold that the rennet is considered complete nevela. So when it's complete nevela, so the Mishnah says that if you have nevela rennet, it's completely asur, because that was Reb Shua before he retracted. Kan la'achar Chazarah. In the same Mishnah, there's two parts of the Mishnah. One part is before he retracted, the second part is after he retracted. After he retracted, he said a treifa, the rennet of treifa is okay. The problem is, but he retracted. So if he retracted, take out the first part of the Mishnah. Once people already put it into the Mishnayos and it flows. You're allowed to make cheese. Do we have the video? I don't think we have the video. That was yesterday. Okay. Did I show the video of cheese making? Yeah, okay. You're allowed to make the cheese inside the innards of the nevela. It's considered separate from the body. It's not considered a nevela. I'm going to see in nafkamina soon, the leather, the hide of the cave is no good. But the inside, it's like in a bottle, sort of, but it's a nevela, that's fine. But if the animal was shechted by a goy, no good. Now, why is it no good? If a goy shechts an animal, what halacha does the animal have? It's a nevela. It's a nevela. Why is it different if an animal drops dead, or if a goy put a bullet through its head and it died? They're both dead animals that are nevela. One you could put the milk, make cheese out of, another one you can't make the cheese. This goes like Rebbe Lezer. We have a problem of avodah zarah. Nothing to do with the kashrus of the animal, but it's sort of a kashrus of the animal because of avodah zarah. You're stuck in another problem called avodah zarah. You're using Avodah Zarah now. Amaloi, Velakaman, of course, that's the pshat. I don't care about the guy. I'm not concerned about the guy. It's not true. They don't always insert the Avodah Zarah into everything. It's not a problem. Says the Gemara, you're not permitted to use the skin of the keva. If the inside, it's almost like some sort of flask, you put it in, that's okay. But to use the actual skin and put it into the cheese, that's already, it's going to get flavor of treif, and that's asur. Then you're allowed to. We're not concerned of the Avodah Zarah. Rashi takes the next two lines out. It's nothing. Okay, says the Mishnah. We're going to be discussing the two things that are asur to eat in the animal, the chaylev, the fats of the animal, of a behema. We know that a chayer, you're allowed to eat the fat, but that of a behema, of a cow, a sheep, a goat, asur to eat. There's certain chumras that a chaylev has that blood doesn't have, and there's certain things that blood has and chaylev doesn't have. What are the chumras? What's mi'ilah? Mi'ilah is when you use something that belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. Belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you used it without permission. So your penalty is you have to bring a carbon that costs like $1,000. Plus you have to pay 25% of whatever you used, whatever your benefit was. Let's say you rode the cow all the way from here to the Beis HaMikdash. You just saved the Uber, costs $100. You have to pay $125. $100 for the Uber plus $25 a chaimish, a fifth, which is a fourth, which is a quarter, 25% on top of that. Boy. So if you had a nice geshmaka, in the 60s, they used to give chaylev steaks with ketchup. I don't know, whatever. People eat the chaylev. If you eat the chaylev and you benefit from it, you have to pay, you did mi'ilah. So everybody that was with us since Zvachim, so pigul is like, what's pigul? Pigul is that during one of the four avodas below on the bottom, the four avodas are shchita, kabbalah, hilacha, zrika. If he thought about eating the animal, let's say if it's kachim kalam, a shlamim, you're allowed to eat a shlamim for 2 days. So let's say the kohen thought as he was shechting, as he was receiving the blood, or as he was walking with the blood, throwing the blood. He thought in his mind he's going to make a barbecue, like the top left corner. He's going to make a barbecue in 3 days from now, instead of 2 days. So that's chutz l'zmanoi, outside of the allotted time. And that's pigul. He ruined the animal. Now, if he went ahead and he ate the animal at any time, doesn't have to wait for 3 days. If he ate the animal right away, then he gets kares. So if he ate the fat of the animal, he gets kares. If he ate the blood of the animal, he doesn't get kares. There's a difference between blood and fat. These are just, he doesn't have to think he's going to eat it. He could also think he's going to put it on the mizbech because it's a type of eating. That's the mizbech eating. Or you could think about the zrikas adam. This is chutz l'zmanoi, chutz l'mkoimoi. Chutz l'mkoimoi is what the Torah actually calls pigul, but we don't call it pigul. We call chutz l'zmanoi. Chutz l'mkoimoi means he thinks that instead of eating it in Yerushalayim, he's going to eat it in Bet Shemesh. Okay, it's a lesser isser. You don't get kares for that. V'noisar. If he left over the meat overnight when he was not supposed to, if it's, let's say, chatas, he could only do 1 night, shlomim 2 nights. V'tamei. Tamei is if a person himself, a kohen is tamei, let's say, or whoever, tamei, you eat it. We're talking about adding yisurim here. So not only did you eat the chaylev, which is asur, but you also ate it betumas haguf. Your body was tamei, you get another malchus. You have to bring another chatos. When you drink the blood, you're only over on 1 of drinking blood. You're not over for tamei, you're not over for pigul and noiser. And what does dam have that chaylev doesn't have? Shadam noig bebehema b'chayav oiv. The blood of a bird is also asur. Bein tmeim, bein tahirim, where the animal is kosher, not kosher. But the fat only applies to the kosher animal. It doesn't apply to a non-kosher animal. It doesn't apply to a chaya like a deer. Says the Gemara, how do you know that there's mi'ila, that if you benefit from kachim kalim, the lesser level of kedusha, like a shlamim, a taida, what else? Ma'is b'char, nazir, saita maybe. What else? Okay. Anyway, the list of the lighter ones, kachim kalim. If you take a ride on a kachim kalim animal, you have a shlamim. You're about to bring a shlamim, a taida. You had a tremendous nest. Let's say you came in those days. You traveled. On a boat, you would have to bring a taida, I think. A person was saved from a disease, a jail. Bring a taida. So he decides he's a little tired. He's going to the Beis Hamikdash. He takes a ride on his little sheep. He rides the sheep all the way to the Beis Hamikdash. You chayiv for mila or not chayiv for mila? You're not chayiv for mila. So what's the Gemara asking? How do you know you're chayiv for mila when? There's a certain point that once you makriv, there's parts of this animal, after you shech the animal, there's parts of it go on the mizbech. Those parts become kachim. They leave the designation of kachim kalim, you upgraded it now to kachim. At that point, there's mi'ila. How do you know? We're talking about the chatos of a kohen gadol. When does a kohen gadol bring a chatos? Yom Kippur. The Torah says that this chatos is like a shlamim. So l'chayra, we're going to try to learn things from shlamim to this special chatos carbon that the kohen gadol brings. Kasher yura mishor zevach hashlamim. This chatos on Yom Kippur is like the shlamim. And what are you learning from the shlamim exactly? The fact is, you don't learn anything from the shlamim. You learn from the chatos to the shlamim. It's the opposite. A guy thinks he's coming to learn some Torah from the Maggid Shir and Daf Yomi. At the end, it turns out that he actually teaches the Maggid Shir and the Daf Yomi. The Torah says, I'm going to learn the halachas of chatas from the shlamim. No, the opposite. I'm learning shlamim from the chatas. Then what? Ma kishor zevach hashlamim lepar kohen Mashiach. Ma par kohen Mashiach yesh bo mi'ila. Obviously, on Yom Kippur, if you try to use the bull of the kohen gadol, you're over mi'ila. You benefited from kachim. Afshor zevach hashlamim. You should know, even though it's kachim kalim, it's lighter. Yesh bo mi'ila. You're over mi'ila. So his limud is from Ka'asher Yuro. Exactly 2 days ago, on Kuftes Vavon Beis, the first words of that Amud, we learned those exact words. It's a very interesting lashon. Ka'ura zu sheshana Rebbe is like a question. Is it disgusting what Rebbe said? Why are you jumping to new limud when Rebbe has his own way of learning kachim kalim? It says, Kol chaylev Hashem. It says, by kachim kalim, it says, all the fats go to Hashem. The rabbis, Eimurei kachim kalim lemi'ila. Let me show you again, for all the new guys. Look at this. It's beautiful. Look at the emurim. You see them clear. The fats on the top left, the kidneys top right, and then you have the skirt steak that separates the liver and from the rest of the body. Those are the emurim that you take from every carbon and you throw it onto the mizbeach. So kol chaylev comes to teach us that once that right over there, that's mi'ila. If you use that, even though it came from a kachim kalim animal, it becomes kachi. So why does he jump to Kasher Yura when Rebbe has a beautiful pasuk kol chaylev? I need it. Omar Abai Yitzchak di Chazarah Chmona chaylev avamina chaylevin yiriseres v'shtei kloyos loy. Back to this beautiful picture. I would think that the whole pasuk is talking about chaylev. It says kol chaylev, top left corner, but not top right corner. Because Rachmana Kasher Yuram, it means everything. Okay, so if he's right, Kasher Yuram, I need the pasuk of Rabbi Yanai, Kasher Yuram, so let's just stick with Kasher Yuram. Why do I need kol chaylev? Because Rachmana Kasher Yuram, have amina chaylev al yod dalese b'shar loy. I'll think that here you have a bull. He doesn't have any fat in his tail, but So Mamela, what? Since he doesn't have fat, and there's nothing to put on the mizbeach of the fat, so therefore I would think that the fat of a tail of, let's say, of the sheep that has a lot of fat. Here, let me show you. What? Oh, you're thinking about AI got you to thinking about Switzerland. You ready to go? Look at this. This is unbelievable what our artist did. Check this out. There's a lot of fat there. I would think that even the sheep you don't bring onto the mizbeach. If you can't bring the bull's fat because he doesn't have fat, so maybe you shouldn't bring the sheep's onto the mizbeach. And you do. That's part of the stuff that goes in the mizbeach. I need the pasuk to tell me that the sheep's fat goes onto the mizbeach. If now you're considering, why do I have the pasuk kol chaylev? To teach me about the fat of a tail. So now if you're telling me that the aliyah is considered chaylev, titzer ba'achila, so how do regular people in Benny's, how do they sell the fat of the tail of a sheep for regular people outside of the Beis Hamikdash? How do you eat it? It's chaylev, it's fat, and fat you're not allowed to eat. I like this lashon, alecha makro. Like the Torah is talking to you. Each yid and yid individual, she divrei Torah chadoshim alecha. Kilu hayoim nitnu. Alecha makro. You, the Torah is talking to you. Kol chaylev shor v'chesed v'eiz. Listen, chaylev, it says in the pasuk. Dover hashava b'shor v'chesed v'eiz. The reason why it's not considered chaylev is because you don't have this concept by the. Let's go back so these guys get. Just look at the picture. You don't have this concept by a bull. If you don't have it by a bull, so you can't say, oh, then the fat in a sheep should be usher. If it doesn't apply to a bull and to a goat, so you can't apply to a sheep, and maybe the fat is mutter. But it is something that you bring onto the mizbeach if you have. Rav Ashi Omar, the reason why the fat of the sheep is okay, because chelbei aliyah, it's not called chaylev, it's called chaylev of the tail. It's different. If it was chaylev, so it's fat, fat is also. But it's tail fat. It's a different word. It's a different meaning. Chaylev stam lo yikri. Says the Gemara, oh, if it's different, no matter lo yimalu bo. So why are you over me'ilah? It's not part of the pasuk of chaylev. The whole thing, you said kol chaylev means the fat of the tail. It's not fat of the tail. It's not fat. It's fat of the tail. It's something else. Elo, you're right. That's a good kasha. So the whole thing didn't make sense what he just said. You can't say, oh, it's different. It's a different type of fat. It's the same fat al machvartik of Rav Zvid. So we're going to the original pshat or Zvid. We're not using this new pshat of it's fat, but it's fat at tail, and mela doesn't fit under the category of fat. It says in the Mishnah Mashenkim b'dam that what blood doesn't have meila, blood doesn't have pigul noise or tame, all that stuff. Menanim milad we know. Omar ulad omakro. So limudim, three limudim in the same pasuk. It says lochem, to you, the blood is not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. It's yours private, and you don't get an isser or lechaper, it's for kapar, or for who? Let's see. The Torah is telling you specifically, the blood is yours. It's not the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash. What do you do with the blood? For a kapara. The kapara is mila. You don't get a mila from. You're not over mila. Omar kro who? It's as is. A lot of times the Gemara uses such a lashon. Who as is? The what? Before and after. The before is like the after. And the Gemara is going to ask, maybe the after is like the before. Who said which direction? In other words, just like after. What is it? What's after? After means once you're done with the mitzvah, most of the time, and we're going to see in this amazing video, once you're done, there's no more me'ilah. You went ahead and you sprinkled the blood on the mizbeach, so the mitzvah is over. You did what you had to do. Now you want to drink that blood or use the blood or whatever you do. You're not over me'ilah. It's no more the Beis Hamikdash. You finished shaking your lulav, you put it down, that's it, done. So just like when you're done, there's no me'ilah, so too before you're done, there's no me'ilah. And the Gemara is going to ask the opposite. Maybe just like before you're done, there is me'ilah, so after you're done, there's also me'ilah. How do you know which way you start with? That's the Gemara, maybe the opposite. And this even makes more sense, once you know there's such a concept, okay? Once you're done, who cares if you're done? Well, once is a mitzvah, like tefillin. You're done with your tefillin. What, you're going to throw it in the garbage can? There's still kedusha on it. Why shouldn't there be mehila on it? Sorry, just like before you're done with the mitzvah, you're over, if you use it, says Gemara, there's no such thing that you do a mitzvah and there's a milah. But what do you mean there isn't? What's Trumas Hadeshen? What is it here? This is the first mitzvah that you do in the Beis HaMikdash every morning. Take a shovel, you walk up to the top of the ramp, and you take from the coals, from whatever is there, burning overnight, the akrava, and you put it on the eastern side of the ramp. We're just doing Chazarah, yeah? We know what it is, but it's not klar. What happens to this? Nice goes into the ground. Now, if you use those coals, I'm helping you understand Taisa's question. If you use those coals, you're over on Me'ila. What coals? There are no coals. Do you see coals? As Taisa's in Yuma, where's the coals? Once you're done with the mitzvah, you put it on the ground, it disappears into the ground. Says Taisa's wild. He says that you have to dig it up. It's not that it dissipates. It doesn't just turn into nothing. It physically goes into the ground. So you open up the ground, you go down a couple of feet. He says deep down. He says you take it. There's Isser Me'ila after you put the coals down and you're done with the mitzvah. Well, let's see if his answer works. Okay, you should put it by the mizbeach. In other words, there's a sima, you put it there and don't ever touch it. There's a geniza, put it there. Says Gemara, there's another thing, a second thing. The Kohen Gadol's clothing, you're not allowed to use. So once the Torah says on these two things, do not use after the mitzvah, meaning other places you could, because what's Shnei Ksuma B'am Kechot? The Svara. If the Torah wanted to tell you that you cannot use anything, you could use, you cannot use anything that you used as a mitzvah, the Torah should have said it once. The fact that the Torah says in two different places, the Torah is saying only in these two different places. Anything else, blood, whatever, you're allowed to use once you're done with the mitzvah. What's the Gemara's question usually now? And what's the Gemara answer usually? There's two miyutim, okay, so the Gemara is going to do that. That there's a Indian by Big Day Kohen Gadol to leave it over there. Okay, you hear this? It's unbelievable. You take, in those days, to make clothing, the Gemara says it was worth 12 mon or whatever, which is 500,000, like $150,000 to produce the Kohen Gadol's beged. In nowadays money, they didn't even, and it wasn't as fine as, the fabric that we have today. A fabric like today was millions. $150,000, take it, bury it. You can't use it another time. And they explain, some Sfarim explain different ways, but one of the pshalim that I connected to was that it's to show that your Kabbalahs that you did last year, whatever you're Makabal, of course, 95% of the time you forget about them and you don't do it. Don't let it drag you down. We're starting fresh, brand new B'gadim, brand new Yom Kippur. We're going all over again. V'nicham Sham, over there, going is it last year. Now we're starting new. But this man, means that you, the Kohen Gadol, don't use it. But you don't have to bury it. Another Kohen could use it. So now we only have one pasuk that says this concept of that you're not allowed to use a mitzvah afterwards. We don't have two because you are allowed to use the Big Day Kohen Gadol, Michael and What's Egla Rufa? But they found a body between two cities, and they don't know which city it belongs to, so they measure, they do medidas, and the one that's closer, they have to bring a calf and they chop off its head in the Nachalei Son, and they say, the whole thing. Now, the calf's head is Asur Bahana, the calf. The whole thing is Asur Bahana, even after the Arifa. So, Hanicha, okay, this is the classic. Hanicha, 2 lines from the bottom. Hanicha, this is great according to the Mandama that says that if you have 2 psukim that say the same thing, you can't learn it for the rest of the Torah. But if you could learn it for the rest of the Torah, we should learn that what? Once you do the mitzvah, you're still moyel, so you still should be meila on the blood. So Gemara, trei miutik sivi. No, special miutim only in these 2 places. You put the stuff by the mizbeach, the arufa. Okay. Next sugya. Why do I need 3 different psukim by blood? That if you eat noisar, blood, leftover blood, you're not over on the noisar part. You're over in blood, but not on the noisar. There's no benefiting from blood. You're not over extra avera. That if you ate blood when you were tamei, you're not over on that. The fact that blood doesn't have pigul, that if you thought you ate blood, that you thought that you're going to eat the carbon 3 days from now, 4 days from now, and you ate the blood, you're not over on extra pigul. It's not. Kol sheyesh le matirim. Again, this is something that all the zvachim people, menachas people are very familiar with. That matir means the blood that you throw on the mizbeach allows you to eat the meat. It allows you for kapara. So the blood is the one that gives you the heter. But the blood itself never has something that's matir it. By you throwing the blood on the mizbeach, now you're allowed to eat the meat. By you throwing the blood on the mizbeach, now you have a kapara. But what about the blood itself? Nobody's matir him. So if nobody's matir him, then you can't do pigul on it. You can only do pigul and think of pigul on something that has somebody else that's matir it, like meat. All eating of pigul. This nan, kol sheyesh le matirin. Anything that has something that's matir it, bein l'adam, bein l'mizbeach, whether it means that the person could eat the steak or the mizbeach could get the imurim, then if you eat that meat, then you are over on pigul. But the blood itself, the blood that you sprinkle makes the meat mutter, but he himself has nothing that's matter him. Matter, he's a matter. And if he's a matter, then you can't do pigul on it. Hadrun aloch kol habasar, hadrun aloch kol habasar, hadrun aloch kol habasar. So we're talking about tumah now. Tumah always works. Not even the chart today. Wow, man is shvach. Tumah works. You have something that's tamei. If it touches something else, it drops down 1 level. You have a dead rat. It's avatuma. It touches an apple. The apple becomes a rishon. It drops down 1 level. If that apple touches another apple, the second apple becomes a sheni. So, the first apple that gets touched has to be what size? That of an egg, a kibetza. Now let's say the apple itself is not a kibetza, or let's say a piece of meat. You have a piece of meat, it's not a kibetza. A rat touched a piece of meat, it's 3/4 of a betza. But, take a look at this, beautiful. But together with the skin, that circle is a kibetza. Together with the skin, now it turned into a kibetza. So now I have a piece of meat that gives tumah. Why is skin good to be mitzaref, to join the meat? Because skin is a protector of the meat. So any protector, let's say if you have a walnut, could you eat the outside of the walnut, the shell? Absolutely not. It'll break your teeth. But it protects the walnut. So it's part of the walnut, so it could give tumah. If a rat touches it, it'll give tumah. There's other things. A pulka, a handle, a yad. A yad is a handle. I can't think of anything else. You can think of, I don't know what, something that you hold on, a stem on a fruit. I usually don't do that, but okay, you eat a grape like this. So the stem is also part of the fruit because you're using it to hold the fruit. The bone of the... Another thing would be, you have a steak that's 99% a kibetza, but it's not yet a kibetza. Then you, a schnitzel, then you put the covering on it, the cornflakes, and now cornflakes by themselves nothing. The tavlin, the paprika, and the spices are nothing by themselves. Who eats a spoonful of garlic? But the garlic on top of the steak, now together you have a kibetza. So these 3 things is how you add something to the meat or to whatever it becomes. So says the Mishnah, the hide that we saw in this picture is a shomer, so it's mitzdarif to the kibetza. V'aroitev, and the gravy, v'akefa, and the spices. The spices are mitzdarif. V'alo. So we'll see what olo is. Olo could be a few things, like the pieces that fall off the knife, even the bone here. This is like the bone of the gid right over here. Great. We're gonna see in the thing. V'lat samais. But Rashi says it's not talking about the actual bone. It's the bone, because the bone protects what? The food inside, the marrow. That's almost vagidin. So sinews, this is weird. Like sometimes people eat the sinews together with the meat. So it's part, it's mitzdarif. Vakarnaim. So of course we know that a horn, a shofar, is not part of the meat. So how's it? It's talking about the bottom part that's connected to the animal, and if you cut it, it's gonna bleed. That part is mitzdarif. Vatlofayim. And the hooves. It's also a shomer to the foot. Mitzdarif in l'tami tumas ochlin. It's mitzdarif to do the tumah. Avaloi tumas nevelas, but not tumah of nevela. For oichel you need a kabetza. For nevela you only need a kazayis. These things are not mitzdarif to the nevela. Okay, here comes an unbelievable chiddush. Just for this was kedai to wait. You should call up your father-in-law, tell him the chiddush right now, because he left. He missed his murder with the chiddush. Kiyoytzeboy. Hashoichet behema tmeya. You know what a behema tmeya is? Not an animal that's tamei. An animal that's tamei. A chazer. Not an animal like a cow that became tamei. Behema tmeya means a chazer. If you Jew, you take a knife and you shecht the chazer, so what if you shechted it? For an idol worshiper, and it's jumping around. So you have to see Rashi here. I know we're a little late, but it's givaldik. Says Rashi, long Rashi. Says, I'm going to read it to you. These four things. Why? Yisrael sheshachat behema tmeya letzorich oived gechavim, but Jew shechs, voidem varkesses, and it's still jumping around. A guy cannot eat it now. It's still every minachai. Why? The bemisatalia milsa. A Jew could eat right after shechita, but a guy can't. Since the Jews shechted it and it's a real shechita, listen to this incredible thing. For a Jew could shecht. So let's say if a Jew doesn't shecht the chazer, he takes a gun and shoots it, or slices its neck the wrong way, then this wouldn't work. You believe what's going on here? A shechita on a chazer and a davar acher is a real shechita for one thing, that he just considered it food, because his brain, a Jew's mayach, his machshava made it into food. For tumah, for that moment that the chazer is going like this, then it's mitzvah for tumah at that moment, because it's considered shechita. You hear what's going on here? We take his machshava, and it makes it food. Even by a chazer, for a guy. Let's say the guy did a shechita. No, it doesn't work. Why? Because if the guy doesn't have shechita. And if a Jew did nechira, which is like shooting in the head, you do a shechita on a chazer, and it works. But if a guy did it, he's not a kosher shoichet on a chazer. That's what's going on here. It's crazy. A guy who shechted his own chazer is not a shechita. He doesn't know how to do shechita. A Jew that knows how to do shechita and only does shechita, he could consider it food as he's doing the shechita, even though the guy can't eat it because it's not dead yet. But it's still considered food, and that's the Mari Chiddush. For those 13 seconds in between when he shechted and dies, that's considered food at that point. It doesn't work on an nevela. Until the animal dies, it becomes a nevela. You knock off its head. There's more things going on when it comes to the tumah of food, whereas the tumah of nevelas. We're going to see this. There's all of these pieces that come out from the knife that you gather. If you get a hal kazayis, you're over a boysai. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.